All right, what's up, everyone? How's everyone's week going? Mine is amazing. Mine is terrific. For the fourth straight game, I've watched my New York Yankees do nothing at the plate. 5 runs in the last 5 games, or 6 runs in the last 5 games. It's pathetic. I think 6 runs in the last 55 innings. It's not one of those situations that I'm just going to chalk up to it is what it is. And what are you going to do? As a lot of people like to make fun of me about. But I'm not going to do that. So today I'm going to get into that. I want to talk Yankees. I'm also going to discuss the NBA Finals, my thoughts. Been a very exciting finals. No matter what you think about the 2 teams in the finals, the 2 markets, the 2 cities, it's been an entertaining finals. And it's something that we've been asking for the last 4 or 5 years. It's been a very long time since we got a good NBA Finals. I'm going to get into that, what I saw last night in Game 5 where the Thunder took a 3-2 lead. Obviously, Game 6 will be on Thursday, in which the Pacers could tie the series up and force a Game 7, or the Thunder can clinch their first NBA title in franchise history. So we're going to get into that. And then last but not least, going to talk about the Knicks coaching search and some rumors spreading around. Chris Persianen, who I had on last week on my YouTube, check that out. Rare video that I put out. Check that out. We discussed some rumors, some reports that he put out within the time that I released it. And, now he's put out another report saying the Knicks look at Jaren Jackson Jr. and Karl-Anthony Towns as a perfect, pair. I don't know how likely it is that the Knicks get Jaren Jackson Jr. Doesn't look like the Grizzlies are going full fire sale, but that's something we will discuss as well. But here we go. Let's start it off with the Yankees. Another putrid performance last night in which they put up no runs. And for whatever reason, this isn't something that it's not something that we didn't expect. Listen, I don't think anyone out there was going to predict that the Yankees would have another terrible June, but this is becoming somewhat of a trend in which the Yankees look really good offensively for the first 2 months of the season in April and May. And then in June, everything falls apart at the exact same time. And it's like last year, everyone on the team sucked besides Judge. Judge started off, if you remember, that first month, terrible, awful. Ever since then, he's been a completely different player. That is not what we are seeing this year. I mean, the entire Yankees offense, it feels like, has forgotten how to hit. So this is where we are right now, where the Yankees have lost 4 games in a row. They got swept by the Red Sox, who traded away Rafael Devers. That's good news. Every time I find myself annoyed or upset with how my daily life is going, I think about the Red Sox trading Rafael Devers and the fact that we won't see him again in the Bronx until 2027 with the Giants. It's amazing. I don't care what happens with the Yankees the next couple of weeks. They can continue sucking. The Red Sox traded away Rafael Devers for nothing. For 0. That's fun. That's great. But the Yankees still got swept by them. They trade Devers away after they sweep the Yankees. 5 for 6 in terms of games against the Yankees in the last week and a half. And the Red Sox thought it would be a good idea to trade away their best hitter in the last 10 years. So I digress. I had to get my thoughts out on that. Again, amazing news. That was terrific. But this Yankees team, it's not just the fact that they can't hit right now. And a lot of that could be chalked up to these dead balls. You've seen it throughout the league. You saw it the other night. Juan Soto absolutely crushes a ball to right field at Citi Field. It doesn't go out. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a ball hit that hard that didn't leave. The launch angle, the exit velocity, everything added up to it being a mammoth home run, and it doesn't get out. The ball just dies. And we saw that last night with Aaron Judge and Cody Bellinger. Both seemed like they hit bombs. Bellinger, in the end of that game, I believe it was the 10th inning, maybe the 9th, in which Bellinger, it really seemed like he got a hold of one. It looked like he absolutely destroyed the baseball, and it barely even got to the warning track at Yankee Stadium. So a lot can be chalked up to that, but that shouldn't be an excuse. The Yankees, over the course of the last 8 years, have largely relied on the home run. They have. That has been their makeup. Go big or go home. Home run or strikeout. And I think they've deviated from that slightly over the course of the last 2 years. Acquiring Juan Soto, was never known for only power. He was known for getting on base a lot. That's the type of guys the Yankees need. And that throughout the last 8 years I've been talking about it, those are the types of players the Yankees have needed that they never had. And it showed in big moments in the playoffs. Guys could not get on base. Pitchers were attacking guys. Aaron Judge. Giancarlo's a different story. He hits no matter what. But guys were attacking these Yankee hitters, and they couldn't do anything. And we are seeing this time and time again. Things have not changed. And Saturday, and this is like I constantly bring this up. It's like beating a dead horse at this point. And Saturday is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Over the last 8 years, since Aaron Boone was hired, that has been the Yankees in terms of their offensive strategy, in terms of their lack of situational hitting. They have lost 9 out of 10 games in which the game went to extra innings, the runner started at second base. 9 of their last 10 this season. It's unacceptable. And the Yankees, it's just time and time and time again, they simply cannot hit with runners in scoring position. And you look at this Yankees roster from top to bottom. Could you say this is the most balanced lineup since the 2009 World Series team? Probably. Collectively, they have an amazing OPS. No one in that lineup has an OPS below 730, which is amazing. Oswaldo Cabrera, of course, broke his ankle. He would have been below that, but he's not in the lineup anymore. So you look at the lineup top to bottom, they're not that bad. And that's obviously translated up into the last 8 or so games to a very potent offense. And an offense that I wouldn't say single-handedly won them games, but an offense that supported the pitching that has been really good with that rotation. Enough in order to win games. Early on in the season, the first 2 to 3 weeks, the Yankees were hitting everything out. People were complaining about the torpedo bats. People were complaining and they were arguing that they should be banned because of how good the Yankees looked offensively. The Yankees have had a massive fall from grace since that moment. Here we are. Another season in which the Yankees at the exact same time have forgotten how to hit. And situationally, it's inexcusable. It really is. There's some other, there's some other stats in which, people put out there. Ryan Garcia, if you don't follow him, he's probably the best Yankees Twitter follow. Great guy. Kind of friendly with him at this point, but he's amazing. He put out the stat. He said, Yankees expected slugging percentage of the last 4 games, 428. Yankees' actual slugging percentage over the last 4 games, 226. So you could say that this Yankees team has been unlucky. And I think that's in large part due to these dead balls. And I'm not going to sit here, and this has never been my MO, to come on here and make excuses for my teams. I've never been one to do that, no matter which team I'm talking. I find it very difficult to be apologetic about the issues that plague my teams. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, Aaron Boone is an amazing man. Maybe I get too critical at times, fine. But I'm never, I don't have a soft spot for these teams. And I'm not willing to give in when it comes to making excuses for my teams. And yeah, the Yankees have gotten unlucky. They had 4 barrels last night that all resulted in outs. Expected OPS on barrels this season across the league is a 1.5 OPS, 1,500 OPS. So yeah, the Yankees have gotten unlucky over the last 4 games. That doesn't change the fact that their offensive philosophy is incredibly flawed. And it's something, again, I continue to talk about over the years. Nothing has changed. Paul Goldschmidt, great acquisition. Not one of those guys who hits for a lot of power. He's been the Yankees' second best hitter in terms of average and just getting on base. He's one of those guys that I really was happy when they acquired him. I didn't think he'd be this good, but he's someone who exemplifies the type of strategy needed in order to win games in Major League Baseball. Like, this philosophy has been proven wrong over the course of the last 8 years in which the Yankees have only made one World Series and they got absolutely exposed on the biggest stage in baseball. It has been massively underwhelming in terms of what the Yankees have been able to put out on the field with their product. And it's not going to change. It's not going to change as long as Aaron Boone is still there, as long as Brian Cashman is still at the helm. He's made some good moves. At the same time, this team still continues to struggle. There's so many excuses being made for them. I'm not someone who's going to sit here and try to justify any of the things that we're seeing and try to tell you that, things should be different and the Yankees or any other team has gotten unlucky. That's not what I do. It's never been what I do. I don't believe in it. Like, just figure it out. Be better. Be better. I don't want to hear excuses. I rarely make excuses for the things that happen in my life. Why should you? And why should fans do the same? So figure it out. Figure it out. 6 runs in the last 55 innings, unacceptable. Unacceptable. That's where I'm at with this Yankees team. I haven't talked about them much. People tend to think that I just focus on them when things are bad. That's not true. There's just been a lot of stuff surrounding the Knicks and their coaching search and the rumors about who they want to trade for and yada, yada, yada. I didn't expect this to happen. I expected the trade rumors to be swirling. I never expected the Knicks to be at this point where they are the only team in the NBA that's looking for a head coach and the only team in recent memory to be making themselves look like absolute fools throughout their coaching search. But I can guarantee you this. Whether the Yankees are winning or whether they are losing, I'll be talking about them a lot more going forward. That is a guarantee that I can make you right now. And I know my following largely interacts with my Knicks tweets, not necessarily my Yankees tweets or my Giants tweets. But hopefully that changes because, I do a Giants podcast and I try to talk Yankees as much as possible. So, yeah, last night was an incredibly tough watch. The night before as well. It sucks. It really does. And you just hope that the Yankees can figure this out because if they don't, then it'll be another lost season and an incredibly underwhelming performance after what they accomplished last year. And I think it would make the Juan Soto loss sting that much more, no matter what fans want to say about it, no matter how much the fans want to cope with the fact that the Yankees lost Juan Soto. They try to replicate his production by bringing in a few guys here. All of these guys that, haven't, combined matched Juan Soto's WAR. At least the hitters. Max Fried has been amazing. But yeah, listen, I think that Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman's philosophy is not a recipe for success. And until proven otherwise, unless I see anything else, I'm just going to stick to that. It's something that I've been talking about for a long time. People wanted to hate on me last year when I said, I don't believe in the Yankees long term. I don't think that they'll be able to beat the Dodgers. And yeah, that's what happened. They got exposed on the biggest stage in baseball. All right. That'll do it for this Yankees talk. Again, as I said just a couple minutes ago, more Yankees talk coming in the future. But I really wanted to touch on the NBA Finals, which, as I said before, has been really, really good. This is the best NBA Finals that we've seen in years. Now, the presentation, on the other hand, that's a different story. I could sit here and talk about that for the next 2 hours. There is nothing in all the sports that bothers me as much as ESPN's presentation of the NBA. ESPN, ABC. It's terrible. It's awful. No matter how much I love Mike Breen, he is not himself enough to save what has been terrible broadcast after terrible broadcast after terrible broadcast. I'm not going to sit here and talk about it again, even though I would love to, even though ESPN is just a disaster. You saw what happened the other day when Stephen A. Smith, during the middle of an NBA Finals game, he's paid $20+ million a year. He's playing solitaire on his phone. Inexcusable. And Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy were let go as color commentators of ESPN and ABC's production of the NBA. And this isn't proven, but when you look at the timeline, they knew that Stephen A's contract was coming up. They're going to have to extend him because of how big and how they essentially made him the face of all their sports coverage, which is so idiotic. And also with the Pat McAfee situation, which they brought in Pat McAfee, spent a lot of money on him. It isn't proven. I think you could put 2 and 2 together that Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy were let go because ESPN decided to prioritize re-signing Stephen A. Smith and bringing in Pat McAfee. I digress. I told you I wasn't going to do it, and I just did. The NBA Finals have been great. Have been great. And where I stand on it as a fan, this is not me speaking objectively like I normally do, and I'll get into my objectiveness and my opinion about the series in a second here. As someone who hates the Pacers, who of course knocked out my Knicks, I like being able to root for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Because if it weren't for the Pacers, if they were playing any other team in the NBA, maybe besides the Celtics, maybe besides the Nets, but if they were playing 27 other teams in the NBA, I'd be rooting hard against them right now. But watching this team, as much as I hate the Pacers, it's been very enjoyable. It's been very enjoyable. Last night was amazing. Tyrese Halliburton has his calf issue. He plays the entire first quarter, or at least maybe he was taken out with a minute or two left in the first quarter, goes to the locker room, comes back out, ends up playing 33, 34 minutes. We obviously saw how that went. The Pacers decided to play him over TJ McConnell, who might have been their best player last night. In crunch time, Tyrese Halliburton's underwhelming play lost them the game. 0 field goals, 0. And people want to put him up on this pedestal as being one of the top players in the NBA. Top players don't disappear every other game. And that's what we've been seeing from Tyrese Halliburton throughout these playoffs, throughout his career. When he's good, he's amazing. When he sucks, when he's not having a good game, he's irrelevant. He actively brings down the play of his team during these stinkers. And listen, any superstar in the league is going to do that, but not on this level. If Tyrese Halliburton has even an average game last night, the Pacers win the game. They win the game. And you know that a superstar like that, of that level, is not going to turn to his coach and be like, "Coach, take me out. I clearly don't have it tonight. I'm losing my team the game." And maybe that's a little bit selfish. Like, there's certainly an argument to be made that Halliburton should have done that, but I get why he didn't. He wants to prove himself. He's played these entire playoffs with a massive chip on his shoulder, trying to prove to everyone that him being rated or him being voted the most overrated player in the NBA was complete BS. And up until this point, his team is in the NBA Finals. I think he's proven that he's not the most overrated player in the NBA. But if he wants to be included in superstar talks, he can't be this inconsistent. He's consistently inconsistent. It's almost like at this point you could expect him to be this bad every other game. His play has been terrible. And the Pacers really suffered from that last night. And they had little to no answers for Jalen Williams. And man, this team is scary. This team is by far the best defensive team in the entire NBA, and I don't think it's close. I really don't. And this has been something that I've been harping on throughout the season. The Thunder were my championship pick before the season. I've been higher on the Thunder than most people I know. I picked them to win every series handedly, and they have. And now they're one game away from winning their first championship in franchise history. And it's just unbelievable to think that the duo of SGA and Jalen Williams are close to accomplishing what Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook were never able to do. I think it's just a different era in the NBA. This new CBA really limits how good teams can be. And the Thunder are not at that point yet where they're going to have to sacrifice a lot of their talent because they're going to get paid by other teams. They're not at that point yet. And they've got a lot of draft picks. I mean, obviously, they have like 3-4 first-round picks, the best team in the league, about to win the championship. They will be able to replenish the talent they have on this roster. There's no guarantee that they will continue to draft as well as they've drafted over the last few years. But still, they're set up better than any team throughout the 4 major sports. I think that's objective at this point. It's not even an opinion. Look around all 4 sports. And I'm not a hockey guy. Maybe I don't know. But from the sports that I follow, 100%. 100%. And that's where we are right now. Maybe the Dodgers, I don't know. I think in terms of the assets they have, the talent they have right now, within the CBA, like where teams aren't really allowed to be good for a long period of time. They've got a short window. They kind of have to go all in with these short windows or else they're kind of screwed. The Thunder's window might be as long as we'll ever see with this new CBA. And again, the finals have been very, very entertaining. Of course, what happened in game 1, that furious comeback, Pacers doing it yet again. And all these games have been relatively close. Game 2 was kind of a blowout, but it's been a lot of fun to watch these playoffs. Again, no matter what you think about the markets that are in it, no matter what you think of the players, no matter what you think of SGAing the way he plays basketball, whether or not it's unethical, I tend to agree with you, but I'm not complaining. I don't want the Pacers to win a championship. That'd be terrible, terrible. So I'm very grateful, and I think a lot of other NBA fans should be just as grateful that we're finally getting a good finals. Like it's been so long, it really has. And if the Pacers win, we'll get the first Game 7 in an NBA Finals since 2016. I'm almost positive it's been 2016. It's been 9 years since the last time we had a Game 7. Feels like the Stanley Cup Finals go to Game 7 every year. So we've been screwed with that. The last even remotely entertaining finals was 2022, and that was not a great finals. Like the last 2 years have been awful, terrible. So say what you want about how both teams play basketball and whatever. It's been very entertaining. So that's been good. ESPN's presentation, on the other hand, has been terrible. They got bullied into finally showing the starting lineups after 12 seasons of not doing so and 12 years of me complaining about them not doing so. And finally, they came to their senses. It took, the multiple articles from The Athletic. It took Worldwide Wob tweeting about it. It took the entirety, almost, it felt like, NBA Twitter talking about it. And now, of course, they bring it back when they could have had it the last 12 years, but they decided to prioritize more time for ads, more time for commercials. I think ESPN sees the writing on the wall here, and they see what NBC has promised to give NBA fans next year. I'm not old enough to remember the NBC's presentation of the NBA. I think the last year they had it was 2003, 02-03. I'm almost positive. Maybe 03-04, but either way, I mean, I am hyped. I am ecstatic at what NBC is going to bring to the table when it comes to presentation. Because again, I'm too young to remember how it was presented, but I've watched old games. I've watched a bunch of old Knicks games, the intros, starting lineups. They make the games feel big. The opening monologues. It's going to be exciting. And I think ESPN realizes, and this is how it works with every company or any entity in the world. Competition makes them change things for the best. We've seen it with video games, sports video games, with no competition, rolling out the same product every year because they know people will buy it. There's no pressure. Same thing with broadcasting. Same thing with ESPN. TNT did a good job. All right, like they did a solid job when it came to presenting the NBA, but they were never on the level that NBC was at. Again, they were good. They were good. They had good color commentators. Their play-by-play guys were top-notch. Of course, they had Inside the NBA, which I think ESPN knew they would never be able to replicate. They, of course, haven't come close. But what we're going to see with NBC next year is going to put a lot of pressure on ESPN to figure it the F out. Doris Burke and Richard Jefferson are not long-term answers as color commentators next to Mike Breen, who maybe has 10 to 15 years left in his broadcasting career. He's in his 60s now. I think he's 63 or 64. They're going to have to figure it out. And there have been rumors that the Doris could be out. Finally, amazing. I don't think it's misogynistic to say that Doris Burke sucks. She's terrible. Like, I'm a huge fan of Monica McNutt. And this is like, a lot of people throw it out there. Oh, yeah, you hate women. Like, no, I don't. She sucks. Monica McNutt is great. I enjoy listening to radio games with her on the call. When I'm in the car, like, it's amazing. She's great. Doris sucks. Richard Jefferson, I'm not a fan of. Like, I think he's good for B games or C games, but he should not be in an NBA Finals broadcast. No chance. No way. I think it's impossible, but they should bring back Van Gundy and Mark Jackson. They had the best chemistry out of any broadcasting team, whether you liked them or you hated them. And I think a lot of us took it for granted when we actually had them. But, now here we are. The broadcast sucks. I said I wasn't going to do it, but I have to. It's one of the things that makes me the most angry. These companies. It also happens with airlines and these monopolies that own 15 different companies that don't need to change anything because they know that there aren't any other options. The competition brings down prices because companies are trying to appeal to people a little bit more. I know nothing about business, but I know about this. And what this brings about in companies. Complacency. Complete complacency. So good on NBA Twitter, good on The Athletic to bully ESPN into finally airing the starting lineups during NBA Finals games. Like that was a lot to ask for. Unbelievable. All right, let's talk Knicks. This is going to be an ongoing trend until they hire a coach or until they're not at the forefront of NBA news, but it was reported yesterday by Chris Persianen that the Knicks look at Jaren Jackson as being their dream pairing alongside Karl-Anthony Towns. And this, of course, comes after the Grizzlies just traded away Desmond Bane to the Magic for an insane return. And the Magic or the Grizzlies can thank Mikal Bridges and that trade for being able to pull off what they pulled off. And does this put the Magic at the forefront of Eastern Conference Finals talk? Yeah. With as wide open of an Eastern Conference as this year is setting up to be, they made the right decision here in essentially going all in. And I've talked about it. You've heard it elsewhere. The CBA, this new CBA, makes it extremely difficult for teams to win and sustain their winning long term. Desmond Bane, I think he's the type of player that is going to hamper teams' ability to win going forward with this current CBA, and you're going to start to see over the next few years his caliber of player, a guy from top 40, top 50 NBA player, they're not going to get paid nearly as much. They won't be. It makes no sense to pay him as much as those types of players have been paid. I don't know. I think the CBA is going to be terrible for those types of players. Teams are going to want to move on from these people. I don't understand how the Magic gave up so much and the Grizzlies were able to get that type of return for a guy whose contract is not going to look good in a couple of years. It won't, no matter what the Magic do. But this is the current state of the NBA. There's a player out there who can help you win a championship now. You go out and you get him. And we really haven't seen one of those big splashes result in any sort of success down the road. The success is mostly transpired when teams have given up nothing to get guys who, weren't really known as top players, like, the Caruso trade for Josh Giddey. Like, Giddey's going to be a good player in this league. One of those dynamic guys. And throughout the stretch of that season, albeit, some meaningless game. I wouldn't say meaningless. Like, the Bulls have been fighting for the play-in since the play-in was introduced. But, like, that was something that, that I wouldn't say made it seem like the Thunder got fleeced in that deal. It was a win-win trade. And there have been few win-win trades here. Some teams have gotten fleeced. Some teams have given up too much in a trade. And that's what we're continuing to see. And I still just can't get over the fact that they traded that much. So Jaren Jackson has been, I wouldn't say linked to the Knicks. I don't think that the Grizzlies are going to trade him. This seemed like more of a retool. It's what I did in Dynasty, my fantasy football Dynasty league. I retooled. People thought that I was selling off my team. Absolutely not. My team has been the best team in the league the last 2 years because I retooled. I got a massive return for a player whose value is never going to get higher. Desmond Bane's a really solid player. It's only down from here. It's only downhill from here. I know he's a younger guy, but I don't see his value going up that much here. And this is the type of move that has not worked out well for NBA friends. Yes, the Knicks made the Eastern Conference Finals. It came within 2 games of making the first NBA Finals in 26 years. But people look at the Mikal Bridges trade as being one of the worst in franchise history. Unless the Knicks win a championship, it was worth nothing. It was a terrible trade. And that's how these moves are going to be looked at. Like, unless teams win a championship, they're not worth it. And, teams just are left with no choice but to try to make those moves. And we'll see if the teams that realize that these types of contracts are not going to help them win in the future, and the teams that see that these massive returns that could potentially help them down the line, we'll see if those work out for said teams. We'll see if this works out for the Grizzlies. I think got a lot in return. This is going to be a really good thing for them because they got 2 rotation guys in Cole Anthony and KCP. So they're not 2 bumps. 4 first-round picks and 2 rotation players. The Knicks gave up 5 first-round picks to the Nets. No players besides Bojan Bogdanovic, who had 1 year left on his deal. May never play another game in the NBA, which is really sad, but you can't compare Bojan Bogdanovic to KCP and Cole Anthony, 2 much younger guys anyway. So, again, I know I said I'd talk about the Knicks coaching search and like the rumors have been swirling about Jason Kidd not being out of the running. And we'll see if those rumors come to fruition. But I think it was interesting, and I wanted to discuss that. Shout out to Chris Persianen who put that out there. I don't think that's really news, though. Like, they're not targeting Jaren Jackson. Jaren Jackson's not getting traded. So, you heard it here first. Just don't see that happening. All right, that'll do it for today. Covered a lot. If you missed either one of my first 2 topics, you could scroll back whenever this is finished. You could look back on whatever I said. But yeah, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. These live streams are very wacky, inconsistent. Sometimes I get a lot of people, sometimes I don't. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. But thank you everyone for tuning in, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Peace.